Mitrav and Bandhuvam, welcome to South Asia Maps Intellectual Kshatriya channel, education channel. This is your presenter Dr. J. Reddy. And if you are not aware of my main YouTube channel, you can go here, South Asia Maps J. Reddy, where I have posted more than 280 presentations on varied diverse topics about Indology. You can go and look at them and enjoy them and learn a lot. Today's topic is on the ecology, human ecology, that is human ecology predicament, mainly from the works of Dr. Catton William Jr. The topic is a very important topic. This is what you have to pay attention. The name of the topic is Redundancy Anxiety, part 67. So, this is the icon I made, redundancy anxiety. What is a redundancy anxiety means? In a simple word you can remember is a fear. It is an apprehension. Redundancy anxiety is the morbid apprehension, means a fear, anxiety. Why this happens? Because this arises because there is a population pressure. That means the number of mutually interfering interactions among humans. Population pressure, that is different from population density. There is a population explosion. It is a more or less is a realization, conscious realization. Many people may not know it, but it happens. There is an excess population in the planet Earth. There is a resource depletion in the planet Earth. The excess population means there is a surplus. Population surplus may include oneself, not just others. So, to recap it, redundancy anxiety is a morbid apprehension, a fear. This arises due to increase in population, population explosion, population pressure in the industrial societies. It is a realization that there is an excess population in relation to resources. This excess population or surplus population may include oneself. There is a E missing here. Oneself, not just others. If you think there is an excess population here, the population surplus, this person has become redundant and falling off from the system. That is redundancy anxiety. This aspect we are going to talk about, taking a certain historical examples from Dr. Catton's work. Redundancy anxiety, the surplus population, oneself falling off from this ladder and society, that is the redundancy anxiety. This is the Germany here, and the German speaking nations. Germany 365,000 square kilometers, southern neighbor Austria, a small country Switzerland, Liechtenstein and Austria. Germany is the largest European nation, sans Russia, that has nearly 80 million people round about 2023. Then years of exuberance means 5 centuries of economic growth, progress, affluence in the New World, Americas, exemplified by the United States, also extension industrialized world. High longevity, high affluence. Now, with increasing population redundancy leads to social issues, social pathologies, the political pathologies. Example is, Dr. Catton gives a very good example, rise of Nazism, the Nazi political party of Hitler during 1930s, the post-World War I, after the Allies' victory. This doesn't mean this is the only reason that happened, but what happened behind the normal social political presentations, we are giving a historical presentation, that is an ecological presentation of history from the ecological perspective of Dr. Catton. That means after World War I ended, this is the World War I, the Germany was there, Germany Austro-Hungarian Empire is there, Germany dismemberment, certain lands were taken out and treaties were imposed and restrictions were made and all those things. That is the post-World War I. That is, these treaties are Treaty of Versailles, the Treaty of Saint-Germain, and there are many so on. What happened? The restrictions were put on Germany. Before the restrictions were put on Germany, ecologically Germany was enjoying the lot of carrying capacity from the neighbors. This is called composite carrying capacity or enhanced carrying capacity, essentially getting the benefits from outside. Once restrictions were made, these were taken away. Now the German people has to dependent on the local carrying capacity, the resources present locally. That means all the trade relations were cut off or severely restricted. So that happened. That means essentially the post-World War in the political sense, the Versailles Treaty, the Saint-Germain Treaty, all made restrictions. They deprived of this enhanced carrying capacity, which was non-local. That means the trade acreages, that is the ghost acreages in the ecological term. Ghost acreages means you enjoy the acreages outside your physical frontier that are visible. So this is almost a physical frontier of Germany that is visible. That is the true acreage. Anything coming out of that is the ghost acreage. Even the acreages coming from legitimate modern the trade relations, the fossil acreage, the fuel acreage, fish acreage, and so on. That is the composite carrying capacity. That was the main reason the Hitler raised in the German politics. That means now essentially the German society, he told them they become the redundant people, the redundant. So this, he said, we should not be redundant, others are redundant. That means essentially putting that in others' plate. So the Slavic people are redundant, East Europeans, the Russians, and so on, the Polish people. Then of course the redundant Jews, not the Germans. So you see, there is a redundancy anxiety played a very important role in German society in the rise of Nazi political party and capture of the political power by the Hitler in his rise. And then he abolished the Versailles Treaty, took over the Rhineland, took over the Saarland, and got access again to the industrialization, coal, the Ruhr region. All those regions are the historical aspects you have to put into perspective. That means redundancy anxiety, the example of severe redundancy. This also happened in the Easter Island when the Europeans discovered the Easter Island. And at one time the Easter Island, that is a large number of people. You see, Easter Island here is in the Pacific. Now it is actually belongs now a country called Chile in South America. Between South America here, Australia here, Chile. And after a few years, when Europeans visited, the population decreased very drastically because excess population, they fought among themselves. The redundancy of population led to redundancy anxiety, large-scale decimation. Their numbers came down. That happened when the Europeans later went to that land and seeing how many number of people lived there. That's a classical example of redundancy anxiety, the Easter Island and Chile. This is the general phenomena, the post-exuberant life. Post-exuberant means almost 450 years of exuberance. That is the high longevity, high prosperity, high affluence, generally recorded from discovery of the New World by the navigators Columbus, Amerigo Vespucci, so on, to World War One, two ends, 1950s. We can extend to 60s, 70s, even up to 2000 years. That is 5 years of exuberant life, post-exuberant life. Now societies are living. So this is not United Nations. This is an unacknowledged ecological process. Overshoot Dr. Catton talks about. Emotional antagonism arises due to ecological antagonism. We talked about the ecological exuberance. A person is exuberance that gives to social exuberance, that gives the ecological exuberance. When this ecological exuberance deficit occurs, it collapses. It collapses social exuberance, emotional exuberance, political exuberance, economical exuberance. That is essentially ecological basis of redundancy anxiety. Because now today there are 8 billion people on the planet Earth. They are not simple, normal human subsistence Homo sapiens. They are essentially very gigantic resource consuming human prodigals are living on the planet Earth. That's why the redundancy anxiety is the ecological basis. The ecological antagonism it creates. This ecological antagonism creates political antagonism, social antagonism. That's what you have to look at. The ecologically, the rise of the Nazi political party, redundancy anxiety in the post-World War Germany, when the carrying capacity was restricted locally and the German society was felt redundant, population redundant, that the leaders could capitalize on that, build that on their political party. Of course, that later led to the World War. That's the different, but ecological basis you can clearly discern through this ecological anxiety. That means, in essence, ecological anxiety or redundancy anxiety is essentially a morbid apprehension arising from population pressure, population explosion. It is the conscious realization there is excess population on the planet Earth in relation to resources. This population surplus may include oneself, this falling of human being. So excess population competing for the highly competitive, like professional courses, competing for the very little jobs by the large number of people. All these are a part of redundancy anxiety. You can discern. There is no way you can avoid that when there is excess population, a population explosion and population pressure, mutually interfering interactions. If you understand that, and if the conscious effort is made by the leaders, political workers and social workers and leaders, this can be alleviated, but it cannot be avoided. That's the main point Dr. Catton talks about. So in this 7th part, we talked about the redundancy anxiety, the morbid fear. Previously, we talked about circular energy and the linear energy. In the previous presentations, we talked about how various southern provinces in Bharat contribute to the populations. That is a very serious issue. Will the family planning really help in our population explosion dilemma? I talked about it. In the other series, we talked about mostly how each country contribute to the population growth. Every year there is 80 million people are added to the planet Earth. So how many people are added by each country, like India 11 million, China 5 million, Nigeria and so on. Of course, this is the major important concepts of Dr. Catton's work: carrying capacity, taking over, drawing down. and Human Predicament, and population doublings, ecological bloom, ecological crash, ecological overshoot, cornucopian paradigms, and so on. I discussed. You can look at them in the Human Ecology playlist of our site. This is the Dr. Catton's two prominent books that is considered to be very pioneering, that gives a different aspect of contemporary social political events on the planet Earth. The only in the universe, the island we live on that is habitable and humans can survive. Hope this will help you to understand the most important concept of redundancy anxiety. This is our presenter, Dr. J. Reddy from South Asia Maps Education channel. And if you like the presentations, Mitrom and Bandhum, I really appreciate you take time and subscribe the channel and also bring it to the notice of your friends and other interested people. See you later in other presentations, Dr. J. Reddy.